Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio and podcast streaming live on kuhsdenver.com. Where sometimes technology is just not my friend. Anyway, so the title of this is going to be very odd. Anyway, so jumping in today, we're going to have a really good time because we're going to talk about some things that a lot of people don't like us to talk about. So hopefully, we'll be able to finish the entire conversation and get it out into the world. But I think it's an important conversation to have, right? Because we're in a place where um, we have access to amazing therapies and very individualized, very cool therapies. But we have to be super discerning when it comes to our body and to the therapies that we're doing. So we want to talk about those. But first, as always, we start the show with gratitude. I've been so grateful lately. So, well, I mean, I'm always pretty grateful, but we were able to spend, and I had said this, week before last, but we were able to spend a week in the mountains with family. And this is something that we do every year, almost without fail. I've only missed a couple. My husband's only missed a couple, but this is something that his family's been doing for about 70 years. And so in kind of the same area of Colorado and in the mountains. And, it's beautiful and the rivers are beautiful. And we have friends that join us periodically. And this week we had our last weekend, goodness, last week we had our neighbors who are our family, who they joined us as well. And it was just so much fun. It was relaxing and just invigorating and beautiful, and just being in the mountains with nobody else around and just hanging out with each other and watching the kids in the river. It was just fantastic. Interestingly, something that's never happened because we've not had very much rain here is this is a fishing trip. And so there was a voluntary and then mandatory stop fishing at noon. So, you want to abide by that because you don't want to be hard on the fish. And that's kind of what this weather is doing. It makes it a little bit hard on the fish, and we want to keep them around, right? My husband is a fly fisherman, and he is a catch and release only fly fisherman. And so the goal is to catch them, let them go, and catch them again when they're bigger. So, but it was a great week. The beauty of God's creation is so fascinating, and what we've been given to play in, right? It's so good. So anyway, super grateful for that. So let's have some fun. So we're so excited that you're here. We really believe here for this show and with the Taste Life Nutrition Company is that health is not really the goal. It really is, health is what gives us the capacity to live fully and to live well. And so when we build health, it gives us the ability to do all the things that we want to do in our life. And so every week we are either exploring, new information, new research. We're talking with experts out in the world, or we're talking with just me, talking about the things that I want to talk about, because we want to continue to learn and to grow. And our body is so beautifully intelligent. It's always communicating. And so we always want to help you and me strengthen our health intelligence, right? And have and live in this body and partner with this body in confidence. So we're super glad that you're here. So let's taste life. Today, we are talking about hormones, and we're talking about therapeutic peptides. So we want to talk about these because they are everywhere. They're not going away, as much as there are some who do want them to go away, because they do have, for many, such positive benefit, right? And so we don't want to be afraid. We don't want to live in fear. We don't want to just go after things because it's the next thing out there and not understand what it is we're getting ourselves into. We want to have good data, and we want to know what our body needs, because I'm different than you, you're different than your partner, your neighbor, your family. We're different than everyone, right? And so we have this place where social media has made these therapies very mainstream. which I think is fine to a degree, but we still need to have an understanding of them, right? And so everyone has an opinion. They're great, or they're terrible, or they're scary, or they're staying away, or they're, staying away from them, or they're jumping on all of them. There are those of us who just like want to experiment. I'm my own best guinea pig. And so we want to still have an understanding of how they work in the body, and not really listen to the hype and to the fear mongering and that kind of thing, but know your body and know what it is that your body needs. And is it hormone replacement therapy? Is it peptide therapy? Maybe, maybe not. So let's dig into it a little bit. So obviously my goal is not to convince anyone either way. I have my own story that I think that I'm going to tell. I've told bits and pieces of it over the years, which is interesting that this is the place we are now. But I think I think my story is important to tell because what I believe to be the case, anytime I'm speaking with a woman my age, so whether that's perimenopause or, postmenopausal woman, there's an amazing amount of frustration around how they're feeling, how their body's changing. Nothing's changing except the body's changing, right? The outside stuff, the inputs, the food, the stuff we put on our body. If anything, they're getting better and better and better because we're like, I'm trying to do the same things that I did 5 years ago, even last year, that my body's like, I'm not able to do this like I was able to before. And I'm putting on the weight and I've got more cellulite, and whatever the case is, it's amazingly frustrating. And we're sitting here as women, we have lots of things that we want to do. And we're in this place in our lives where we have more wisdom. We also know that this is a second half of our life, and you've got a lot that you still want to accomplish. You're like, I did a lot of stupid stuff when I was a young kid, and I've got to make up for that. That's not everybody, but I mean, there's stuff that I wish I'd have done that now I'm trying to make up for. This is my story, right? So I want to feel as good as I possibly can. I want to get out there. I want to go. I want to be focused. I want my mind and my brain to function well. And when that's not happening and I'm not doing anything differently and I'm actually doing things better, what the hell is going on? And how do I fix this? So what we really want to, I'm kind of being repetitive, but so much of what Taste Life Nutrition is about is this health intelligence. And so we want to make sure that we are understanding that these things that are happening to us, especially as women, but men go through their issues as well, is that the body's trying to communicate with us. And so how are we paying attention to that? And so, a lot of times we're just, going back to, the struggle that we have, and this can happen to all of us at any point. We're dealing with brain fog and difficulty losing weight and poor sleep and, slower recovery and all of this stuff that happens, whether it's with hormonal change or our diet is not great, or we're not moving as much as we should, right? It compounds over time. And so we get more and more symptoms. And so then we start trying to figure out, okay, we got to start backpedaling. What's going on and what can I do to manage this? And so we want to become curious about it. We want to try to mitigate the frustration, which is not easy to do because it's things are changing. We don't know why or how to manage it. So I think probably, so I started the show in 2020. And so in 2020, gosh, I don't know, I think I was probably 48 in 2020. That sounds about right. Yeah. And there was this time, okay, let me back up even way before that. My genes are of a heavy person to a degree, right? I have weight issues in both sides of my family. My mom had weight issues her entire life. That's all I remember. Not all I remember. There's so many things that I remember about my sweet mother, but that was a key to everything she was. She was always managing her weight. And that's how I felt like I've always been, because I didn't want to. I mean, she was very roller coastery, right? And I've been somewhat roller coastery, not as extreme as she was. And so it's always, I don't even know how I became this place where I am, except, people ask me, how did you become a nutritionist? I'm like, God, because I didn't know that's what I was going to be doing. But it's this impact that she had, that she was always so frustrated. But it was this, I want to eat whatever I want. Oh, I've got to restrict. I want to eat whatever I want. Oh, I've got to restrict. And so I saw that, and I didn't know the difference. And so that's what I did. I did it all through college. You eat and you restrict, and you eat and you restrict. I remember restricting to such a degree that all I was thinking about was food. When do I get to eat? Because I was hungry, right? And the more you restrict, the more you become frustrated and sad. And then you might lose the weight, and then it comes back twofold, right? So this is my history. I didn't grow up eating healthy food. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I mean, I've said this before. We had it wasn't the gallon ice creams, it was like the 2 gallon ice creams, or maybe it was half gallon, and then we had the gallon. Anyway, whatever it is, I don't know. I haven't had ice cream in my freezer in a long time, but if I do, it's the little ones. Anyway, so point to all of this is that we see these cycles when we're growing up, and then we're in the cycle. And then what happens, right? We have kids. I don't, but we have kids, and then the kids are in the cycle. And so how do we start to understand the body, and how do we start to reverse this cycle? It's really, really hard, right? We all know this. There's a psychology behind it. There's the genetics and the physicality behind it. And so I'm grateful that God brought me to this place in nutrition, and this whole story that I'm telling you, because it allows me to, for one, have empathy, for two, try to figure out what I need to do for myself, and then also figure out how I can help others. So all of this being said, I start going through perimenopause before I really even knew that I was going through perimenopause, right? So most of us start right around, late 30s, early 40s, things start to change. But it wasn't enough of a difference for me, because I was always fighting my weight. I'm always trying to eat healthy. I'm always trying to work out, right? And I would gain and I would lose, and I would gain and I would lose. And then I started gaining, and it was like these little increments. I would gain and gain and gain a couple of pounds, and I lose a couple of pounds, and it just kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I was, at this point, I'm a nutritionist, and I'm eating better and better and better. And I'm learning my body more and more and more. I'm studying my own genetics, right? I know that I'm an ApoE4, which means I've got to watch fat, right? I've got to watch saturated fat, and I've got to be careful when I bring in carbohydrates, right? So I'm managing all of these pieces, because it's more than just weight. It's my cognitive health. It's living as well as I can while I'm here, and helping as much as I can, and serving as much as I can, which is what the show's about, right? This is who I am. And so at this point, I remember I have a friend, she was going through the same thing, and we're going on these walks going, what's going on with our body, and why is this happening? And so I'm going to tell you that through this time, and this is, I'm remembering this as kind of, as the show's starting 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, I have gone through every fad, every diet, every all genetic, my own genetic data. I have done so many things to work with my body and understand what it needs, and kept putting on weight. And so it's not an extreme amount, right? I mean, this isn't something that everybody sees necessarily. I mean, you could see it, but I could feel it, right? And I know that you women are out there, and you're hearing me going, yes, you feel different in your clothes, you feel different in your body. There's more cellulite. I mean, it's just kind of what it is, right? There's more jiggling. There's a pooch. There's a, what the hell is happening, and why is this happening? And so I did all of these things. These are things I would never have clients do. I would never have a client go through multiple fads. But as I said a little while ago, I'm my own best guinea pig. I want to understand anyway, right? I've got a book on hormones and weight loss. I've got a book on carb cycling. I've got all of these things. It's the keto. It's the paleo. It's all these. It's just on and on and on. And I did it all, and I kept putting on weight. And so I did have the thought, okay, this is hormonal, which is why I got a book on hormones and weight loss, right? And so I did it. Nothing worked. Which is why I come back to where we are now and my own discovery, and I'm still in my own discovery. When our hormones are off, and we're going through this phase of the body changing, then, low estrogen, it pushes inflammation, right? And then a lot of times we're in this place where we have excess xenoestrogens, which pushes more inflammation, which throws our estrogens off, right? And so we can go through, there's so many things, then we have the symptoms that we're going through that are so extreme. I'm grateful that I've had very minimal symptoms going through this change, except for the weight gain and some hot flashes. So for myself, I started doing just I can get a particular type of low dose estradiol progesterone that I got that helped me with the hot flashes. That was great, but it didn't help with the weight. And so as I started to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and get more frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated, I finally came to the point where I thought, okay, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do microdose GLP-1. Well, it's the GLP-1 GIP, right? So this is the tirzepatide. And I want to tell you that it was that I was very intent that it was going to be microdosing. What I know is that the higher the dosing, the more problems can come up. So I'm very much on board for the right person, the right situation for me with microdosing, low dosing and microdosing. So I've never gone above the lowest dose, and I am typically below the lowest dose. Why is that? So the cool thing about GLP-1s, GIPs, there's a GLP-1 GIP glucagon agonist, I think is what it is. That's pretty cool as well. They're anti-inflammatory, they're immunomodulatory, right? So I went to have this help with my body as well as the hormone therapy. So for me, I'm on progesterone, 200 milligrams, I'm on estradiol, and I'm on testosterone, as well as the tirzepatide. Game changer in my body, in my sex life, in my workouts. And so here's another thing that I want to make sure and we're going to dig deeper into this stuff because it's not all about weight loss, right? There's so much more to it. But what we need to make really, really sure of, and I cannot emphasize this enough. I work with lots of people who are doing similar things as I am, right? And you have to go into it with the right mindset. There's so many layers here. Going in with the right mindset that I'm going to eat well, I'm going to move, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to eat plenty of protein. I supplement my protein. One of my favorite things is Perfect Aminos because it's 100% absorbable. One scoop is 30 grams of protein. So for me, if I want to make sure that I'm holding onto my muscle, whether I'm taking anything or not, I need somewhere around 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. Now you can get protein through your food. You can get it through combinations of veggies and all this stuff. And your body also will produce some protein. But when I decided this is the path that I'm going to take, the Perfect Aminos was totally on board because it's easy in 2 scoops a day to get 60 grams of protein. That's half my protein that I need, right? And I was bound and determined to make sure that I did not lose muscle. And so I did the InBody, and I tracked my weight, my water weight, my bones, which hopefully won't change, but then the amount of muscle I have and the amount of water that's in my body, and then of course the amount of fat. So I track those. I have another one coming up here shortly. So when I did the first ones before I started, and I did the second one, I did not lose muscle, but I was very intent on it. And so anytime I'm working with somebody who's doing this, we're going to, and I don't prescribe, right? This isn't my thing. But I do recommend, and I have a way I have a partner who I work with where we have access to these things. So I am deep into this stuff because I think it's important for us to know about. Okay, so as I'm working with clients and patients who are doing these things, I tell them the same thing. And I literally can't be adamant enough around we have to make sure that we're doing all of the right things along with it. What will happen is if you're not and you come off, because this should not be a lifetime of a lifetime therapy, right? You want your body to work on its own. So for me personally, it's let's get our hormones in check and then let's come off of the peps, right? And so that's where I am now is I am still continuing to monitor my hormones, monitor how I feel, monitor what's going on in my body, and slowly coming off of those. So so my body works on its own. That's the goal. And that's what I tell anybody who I'm working with is this is what needs to be done because it will come back. If this is something that you're doing for weight loss, the weight will come back. And how frustrating is that? Because you just threw a lot of money down the drain if you don't do this right and you don't do it well. So we want to track all of these you want to track markers, you want to track body composition. All of these things are super important when we decide we want to go through this path, right? Okay. It's the first time I've told that story to any detail, right? To big detail like that to a lot of people. But here we are. So let's do this. I want to talk a little bit because I really want to talk. I do want to talk a little bit about hormones. It's in here. It's a big part of the story. It's a big part of uh, uh, especially women managing where they are in their life. But I think that kind of backing up a little bit and understanding really what hormones are is important. If you listen to me enough, you know this already. And but I am going to back it up a little bit because we've gone from this place of being fearful of hormones, right? So we've got this Premarin, which is a synthetic estrogen. I'm assuming it's a synthetic estradiol. And then we've got birth control pills that are all, synthetic. And, there's a lot of fear around it. And then we're told if we take estrogen when we're older, then it leads to heart attack and stroke and cardiovascular issues. When really what's the case is if we don't have it and then it also is a problem, right? We end up with cognitive function loss, right? Because estrogen is protective of the brain. Estrogen is protective of the vasculature. Estrogen is protective of everything, but it's got to be natural bioidentical estrogen. That's really, it's so important that the estrogen and the progesterone need to be bioidentical. We're not going to dig much into testosterone. I think that that's it's great for me because it's kind of what I needed at the time and still is. But it's not what everyone needs, right? So you test and you talk to your provider and you understand this is my body. What is it that I actually need? But when it comes to progesterone and estrogen, we need that protection. Progesterone is our happy hormone, right? It can help with anxiety. We start to go through this phase of life and our progesterone drops and our estrogen drops and we become more anxious and our weight goes up and we become more frustrated, right? It's a nasty cycle. We talk about these nasty cycles all the time. So if we can support our body and live the best we possibly can for the rest of our time here, feeling well, doing the things that we're put here to do, why wouldn't we? Right? Now, if you're able to manage it without doing the therapy, then that's great. I think that's awesome. And I would love that too. And I think probably there are a lot of people out there who are and who do. For me, I just needed more and I wanted more. So that's a personal decision. And I have to also put out there that, I've talked about a lot the ApoE4 gene that I have, which is what has the potential of pushing Alzheimer's, but it significantly increases my risk of Alzheimer's. Anything I can do that's supportive of my cognitive function, I'm going to do it. right? So I'm going to have estrogen on board because I'm going to support my cognitive function. I'm going to do these anti-inflammatory peptides for me because they're supportive of my cognitive function. We'll dig into what some of these others will do. But for me, knowing that the GLP-GIP is anti-inflammatory and can support cognitive function, that's why it's okay. I'm totally in because that's there's the physical, but then there's the well, my brain is physical too. Point is, I have a patient, and when I say a patient, it's because it's a patient that I'm working with through a clinic, right? So I have my own clients, but then I have patients who I see that are doing medical nutrition with me through a clinic, right? So I have a patient that I see who was put on the GLP-GIP. She was in significant cognitive decline. She was, going down fast. And it was just a low dose, like microdose of this. And she totally halted her decline. Amazing, right? When you can see something that works that quickly. And so that's where I believe, that's one story besides my own, that when you can see something that works so quickly, it's just like mind blown on what these things can do for people. So, sorry, I get off topic. Back to hormones. So we want to understand that hormones influence basically everything that we do and everything that we are, right? So it's energy and metabolism and bone health and cognition and reproductive health, and everything depends on hormone signaling. So if our hormones are not functioning properly, they're too low, signaling goes down, the body's like, whoa, I don't understand, right? I don't know what's happening. And so there are therapies, like we've already said, that can be super beneficial. And so that's where you need to talk with your provider. I talk with people about this stuff all the time. Again, I'm not a prescriber, but I can recommend, and I have prescribers for people, right? And so this is why I love it so much, and I want to be deep into it so I can help those who have questions, right? And I talk about it. I talk about it on a platform like this, so those who have questions know there's somewhere to go to get good answers, right? If I don't have the answers, because I don't have all the answers, if I don't have the answers, I know where to send you. Okay. So, but we've got to start with good information and not fear. And so there is a company that I'm just going to tell you all. I'm going to tell you, some about it, because I think this is where we change the game in individualized care and access, right? You make the decisions on what you need. So there's a company called LEMD where I have partnered with them, and I can talk about what my clients need, really it's what my clients need, and then send them to the provider at LEMD for them to get what they need, right? So we talk through it, we figure out what's best, and then they are able to get the therapies that they need. So it makes it easy for everyone, and the access is good, and it's top notch, right? This is where we want to understand that there are differences between like some of these sort of sketchy peps that are out there, and hormones. We want to really know that what we're getting is good quality, right? And so I'm not ever, whether it's supplements, any type of therapies, I will not ask someone to take something that I question, because this is my reputation, it's my life, and it's my my mindset, right? It's who I am. I want people to know what is best and what's going to work, as far as the least to my knowledge, right? The best that I possibly can. So when I partner with someone who's going to provide these types of therapies, they're going to be top notch, right? They're not going to be, there's no sketch to them at all. So that was something it's something I'm really, really excited about. I think it's amazing. So let's dig into what peps are. I say it that way just, just for because I want to be able to everybody to hear as much as possible, right? I don't want this to be shut down. But so what we've been told, or what a lot of us believe or know, is that it's just it's just the GLP-1s, right? There's so much more to peptides, right? Peptides are these really cool short chain amino acids. Yes, they're short chain amino acids. They're natural to the body, right? So yes, the pharmaceutical companies have taken the GLP-1s. So okay, back up, sorry. GLP-1s are natural peptides in the body. We have GLP-1 agonists, which is what the pharmaceutical companies have. They're agonists. But there are foods that are GLP-1 agonists. There are probiotics that are GLP-1 agonists, right? There are prebiotics that are GLP-1 agonists. So this is all very natural to the body. And so what should happen in our body is that we eat these certain foods, we take these certain probiotics, and it agonizes the GLP-1s, which helps with body composition and weight loss and anti-inflammatory immunomodulatory effects, right? So things get wonky, right? Weight goes up, hunger and satiety chemicals go kind of crazy and things start to spiral and we put the weight on and then we get stuck. And this happens a lot. So I want people to be able to lose weight naturally. But I also have clients who have come to me, difficulty losing weight, and their blood pressure is going up, and it's like the drug after drug after drug after drug, because there's so much that's gone wonky that it's hard to unwind. And I get it, right? So I spent 6 years, 10 years trying to figure out and I'm healthy, right? Trying to figure out, what's going on with my own body. And so when it gets so out of control, we don't take away doing all of the other things and eating well and taking care of our bodies and moving and grounding and all of these things. But if I see someone who is highly inflamed and unable to make the changes, and if we start doing some low dosing and microdosing through their provider, of course, it starts to the needle starts to move, right? And we start to get those inflammatory markers down, and we start to get motivation up, and things start to change. I hear it all the time, though. I hear all the time people saying, well, I'm taking this, I can eat anything I want. This is a terrible way of managing your body, of partnering with your body. It's not partnering with your body, but it is, in my mind, it's completely irresponsible. So these are, along with like hormones, these are also communicators, right? They're little messengers in the body that help it to function well. And so when we have the knowledge, especially when it comes to the agonists of these type of peptides, and how we can work with the body, right? So we can start to bring in Akkermansia if we're low in Akkermansia, which is a type of probiotic that is supportive of body composition and weight loss because it's a GLP-1 agonist, right? And we start to bring in some of these polyphenols and things that are GLP-1 agonists. We do these at the same time if we want to do this. And a lot of people want to try the natural way first, which I think is awesome. It's really, really smart to do it that way. But we at least want to do it at the same time, because then when we come off of the prescribed form, then we have these habits that should maintain, so we keep the weight off and we keep the body healthy, we keep the inflammation down, we keep the brain health, keep the brain healthy, right? So different peptides have different jobs. It's not just about the GLP-1s or the GIPs or any of these, right? This is the thing. There's so many out there that have these really cool jobs that can help us with autoimmune conditions, that can help us cardiovascular health, that can help us with cognitive issues, that help with signaling, right? These going back to like the GLPs, it's not just about the weight loss, right? It's full metabolic health. We want to be able to come off of them, but it's full metabolic health, right? So it's blood sugar and insulin and inflammation and sleep and muscle and stress, right? All of these are involved. And I'm going to reiterate, we can lose muscle on these. So if we lose muscle, we're losing our metabolic engine, right? We've got to have good, strong muscles. And so let's see, lots of different, I'm not going to get into any of that. I want to get into other types of, let's see, where we go. There we go. So let's get into other types of peptides and what I think can be really beneficial for a lot of people, including myself. So if we're looking at healthy aging and longevity, I hate the word longevity, right? It's the sort of this tag word, it's the fad word. It's what everybody says. I want longevity. It's not about longevity. It's about how well we're living while we're here. And I don't know, I could walk out my front door, anything could happen, right? And there goes my longevity. But if I walk out that door walking, or if I go out that door and I'm in a wheelchair or walking or a walker, it's a totally different scenario, right? I want to walk out every door and I want to walk around and I want to be able to have full focus and have all my capacities available to me for as long as I'm here. And so really is about the quality of the time we're here. And so we all want, I think we all want that. It's just not about the length of time, but we want to maintain strength, right? We want to continue to serve and to do all of these things that we love. Those of us who like to, hike and fish and climb mountains and bike and all of the beautiful things that we have the ability to do on top of, build businesses and provide services for others, right? There's so much going on there. And so there are multiple examples. Some of these, are just vitamins, right? There's the N80 plus. You can get that in an IV. You can take it. I think they've got it now they definitely have it in supplement form, but like for the higher dosing, it's one you want to be careful of, just because it can create these kind of interesting symptoms. But N80 plus is really cool. B12, glutathione, right? These are just nutrients, right? These are important, but we can up these, and methylene blue, right? Methylene blue is not a peptide. It's actually a chemical, but it has been shown to have this amazing mitochondrial support, right? So people who are struggling and taking and have tried methylene blue, they're like, oh, it's a game changer, right? So that's a really cool one. And we've got, there's another one called CMAX. CMAX is an intranasal spray for cognitive function. That's when I'm about to start. I'm super excited about that. So again, always going back to what is it that I need to support my cognitive function. There's also Selenk that can support cognitive function as well, not in the same way, but it can be a really good one for certain people who either know that they need to support their cognitive function, or they're just in a place where like things aren't, as great as I would want them to be, or there's the dementia that might be starting up, that kind of thing. So that support, I think, can be important as long as you're discussing and looking at labs and all these things with your provider. Know that these are options. Okay. So the benefits of these types of therapies are like cellular energy, recovery, cognitive, like I keep saying, healthy aging, immune resilience, vitality, right? You want to feel good. And when we have something like this that can help us feel good, why not? Right? Super cool stuff. So I just have a note here. I think I've already said this, but it's the personalization piece of it that is really important, which is why you talk with your provider, right? I talk about it and I recommend, but I don't provide, I don't prescribe, I send to a provider. But It's fun, super fun. Okay, so we've got recovery and performance. And so we've got recover from exercise, from stress, from illness, and the recovery supports consistency, right? So you think about something simple as trying to start the gym again, right? And we go and we work out really, really hard, and then we're sore for the next 5 days and we can't get to the gym. That doesn't do anybody any good. Plus, you shouldn't work out that hard for the first time. But when we have good recovery, we have the ability to be consistent, right? And so there are multiple examples: Sermorelin, NAD+, B12, C-Max, Select. Those are all great for recovery and for performance. Benefits are mental clarity, energy, performance, stress resilience, right? So all really good things. And when we're supporting cognitive health, we have more stress resilience. When our brain is in this crazy excitatory mode, like it is a lot of the time when we're super stressed, or we have certain genetics that don't allow for certain pathways to function as well as they could, and we don't know that those need to be supported, right? Not everybody's doing their genetics. I love doing genetics. It can give us so much information, right? We do the genetics on top of labs, on top of, and then bringing in the therapies. I mean, the amount of individualized, optimized care that is out there is fascinating. It's so good right now. But we got to be careful, got to be discerning. I got to keep saying it, right? But it's really amazing. So, so much of this really is about staying active as, I'm 54, I'm still doing CrossFit, and I don't plan on stopping anytime, right? I mean, we've got people at the gym who are in their 70s and 80s, and I hope that I'm still there in my 70s and 80s, and that's my goal, right? And so I want to be able to do all of these things as long as I can. And so that's another thing. For those of you who are my age or younger and older, we gotta lift weight. So don't assume that you can take these therapies and you don't need to do the work. It kind of goes back to what I was saying a little while ago. But so many people have this assumption that I can just go walk every day, which walking is great. Please go walk. But we have to lift weight. We have to keep that muscle going. We have to, that's what keeps our metabolism up, and that's what helps bone strength, right? So keeping your muscle in check is so important. Lift weight, lift as heavy as you can without hurting yourself. So that's different for everyone. But nobody wants to get hurt, but you've got to lift heavy weight. Okay. All right. Another one that can be really cool. Testosterone did this for me. Maybe enough, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. But there's sexual health. There's a lot of sexual dysfunction out there for a lot of reasons, right? We've got trauma from childhood. There's lots of stuff that goes on there. And so there are some therapies that are there specifically for sexual health, which I think is awesome, because if we are engaged in a good, healthy relationships with good, healthy sex, it just makes life better, and it makes relationships better, and probably less divorces, right? Because we can get stuck in this place of an unhealthy sex life, and people get frustrated, right? Why wouldn't we? We're sexual beings. That's what we're supposed to do. So having good, healthy one-on-one sex life with your partner is, I think it's a huge part of life. I think it's an important part of life. So there's a lot of layers, and this is not my world, not a sex therapist, but I think it's something that, when there are a lot of layers to it, maybe this is a place to start that can help to start, tearing those layers down so you can have good fun with your spouse, right? So they can help with libido, intimacy, confidence, quality of life, right? Pretty cool stuff, I think. So we also have nutritional cellular support. So these are, B12 is actually really cool. It's a really important nutrient, and it's in these a lot, because we can put B12 in IVs. We can put B12, we can inject it, right? We can add it on to a lot of these, these therapies that can help increase how well it works. And so the main thing that I want to say with that though is I want you to be complex. Really, bees are not meant to be taken separately. You can add them on, but take your B complex and then add on your B12 or your folate if you need to. Okay, so it's all I really want to say about that. But I think it's an important piece of all of this is understanding the nutrition component and understanding that it all works together. It has to work together. Okay. All right. So let's see. Skin health. This is cool too. So you've got these copper peptides that are out there that you can I mean, I have them just in my full script, right? If you don't know full script is sort of a it's got all of your professional lines, supplement lines in it, or most of your professional lines in it. And, so we've got now there are peptides that you can put on the skin through supplement companies. There's one, Quicksilver does this, but you've got these copper peptides that you put on the skin that's showing really great benefit, right? So that's super easily accessible, but you've got also then the compounded ones that are going to be probably a little better. I don't know. Quicksilver is really good because they micronize their particles. So Chris Shade's the owner of Quicksilver. They're here in Colorado, but he is I've heard this through people who work for him, but such a stickler about the quality of his products and ensuring that they actually get into the bloodstream, right? And so they're liposomal. Almost all of his products are liposomal, which means they bypass the gut. They go in, if it's oral, then they go in through the mucosa. But if it's on the skin, then it goes into the skin, right? And doesn't just sit on top of the skin and create problems. So he's got some pretty cool ones that I think are my understanding is they're pretty good. But you've got your ones that are really easily accessible like that, but then you've got your compounded ones. And so there is one that I have someone starting. I know I only just heard about this, right? And so I did not tell her about this. She wanted to do this on her own. It's called melanotan. Super interesting stuff that it helps you tan. Cool. I wonder what that means when it comes to like, well, I can't imagine that it would do anything with vitamin D. I've not looked into it, but it does help you if you're fair skinned, it helps you tan. I don't know. So dig into it though. You always want to know what, if there are side effects and what that means, but I think it's kind of an interesting concept that you can make your skin tan. Kind of cool. So let's see. A reminder, healthy skin starts by supporting the whole body. Duh, right? So this is really, what are you putting on your skin anyway, right? What are you using to help with wrinkles? What are you using to, the lotions and the hair care products, right? I will say it a million times over and over and over. You've got to take the chemicals out of all of these things that you're putting on your body. We're putting these things on our body and on our skin and in our environment every day, multiple times a day. So if you're not being careful, if you're not going to environmental working groups, so ewg.org, and checking the ingredients, you've got to do it because you're going to be surprised. If it's not something that you've ever done, you will be surprised over and over and over again about the quality of the products. If you don't already have the knowledge about it, it's scary what's put in some of these products, in most of these products. So watch out for that. Really consider what you're washing your clothes in. If you can constantly smell the soap from you're washing your clothes in, it's probably toxic, right? I have some essential oils that I put in mine. So mine tends to kind of smell like lemongrass or orange. That's what I like. But it's so faint, right? And it doesn't last. I mean, some of these soaps, they'll sit there and they'll last for a week, however long, they're sitting in your closet. Really, really scary. If you're smelling it all night long, right? This is totally toxic. So we got to think about this. Think about the things, your plugins, right? So think about what you're putting, if you're putting plugins that are, oh, smells, they just drive me crazy. They just gross me out. Okay, so let's hit on this just a little bit, that quality matters. And so we really need to ensure that we're not just going to some random website or some random person and purchasing whatever they have. I have somebody tell me not too long ago, I've got this buddy who's got all of these wholesale peptides and, they do all of these things and they're cheap. And I'm like, wow, I wouldn't do it. There's no way. There's way too much sketchiness out there. So know what you're doing, know where you're getting them, right? And so they're becoming, I'm going to read a little bit here. Yeah, they're popular. They're available from many different sources. They're sold online, marketed as research only. And so they're not subject to the same oversight as medications dispensed through licensed pharmacies. So quality, identity, purity, potency, sterility are important considerations when you're putting something into your body, right? No kidding. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is pure and it's the real thing, because so often we just don't know. So doesn't mean that I think that we need to have government regulation over everything. But it does mean that when we're putting things into our body, we need to have discernment for ourselves and an understanding of what that is and what that looks like and the knowledge and the education so we can make good decisions. And so what's, why I, decided to jump on board with LAMD because they've got the good stuff and I don't have to worry about it. And I don't have to worry if it's going to be hurtful or not, right? And because I want people to have access. There's a lot of people trying to squash this out there, and these can really help people who are struggling. And I think access is really important. So let's see. Sorry, reading. I want to see if there's anything that I've missed. So, yeah, well, I've said this 100 times over, right? That this is the foundation that still matters. And what that means is you're watching your food intake, you're watching what you're putting on your skin and in your environment and on your body, and you're watching how you talk to yourself, and you're watching how you manage stress, and you watch all of these things that are going to make a difference in how your body adapts and how it moves through life and how it ages, right? We're doing this together, right? And that's kind of this huge piece of all of this is a huge piece of who I am as a practitioner is I want people to partner with their body. Your body has one ultimate goal, and it's to keep you alive, right? And we want to live well for as long as we're here. I've worked with so many people who are in a constant fight, a constant struggle, and a mindset plays a huge role in this. And if we can flip the narrative and say, okay, we're not fighting each other, we're trying to understand each other. I'm trying to understand my body, right? This whole 10-year process of me trying to understand what my body needs and I'm still working through has been more of an in-depth process of learning how to better partner with it. This started for me years ago when many of you heard, and maybe you haven't, when this whole thing started for me was when I got a headache that didn't go away for 2 years, right? So I had to learn how to partner with my body. I had to learn how to ask better questions. That's sort of the beginning of my entire story where God has brought me to this point now is through learning to partner and listen and communicate and listen to what my body's trying to communicate with me. So that's what I hope for you. That's what I hope for everyone is that we are able to flip this narrative of constantly being in a fight to how can we work together and support each other, right? I'm each other being our body and ourselves. So funny. Okay. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, I think knowing that these are tools, they can be really amazing tools, but that's what they are. They're not foundational. They're not forever. These are really good tools for those who need them, and who, when you agree with your provider, then, try them out, man, and reach out to me, because this is a cool place to be. I can answer questions for you, and we can have a conversation and figure out what it is that might be best for you. And then we move you on to the next step so you can talk with a provider. So it's so fun. It really is such a cool place to be. And so let me go back to my own experience. When I started to, which was really fast, I started to, I taking the hormones as well as the peps, and my body started to look like and feel like what I thought it was supposed to look like, right? I'm strong. I work out, and I work out hard, and I lift really, really heavy. And I feel like I look strong. This is a cool thing. I also do creatine. Creatine's awesome with body composition, as well as cognitive health, right? Another piece of it, right? You've got these cool things that do multiple, have multiple benefits to our bodies, right? So creatine, most people will take 5 grams. I take usually 20 grams, because it's the 10 to 20 grams. I say 10 to 20 because it was 10. Now I think there's pushing 20 that's best for cognitive health. But what is that? It means that I'm supporting my muscles, I'm supporting my brain function, and you can see that I have some muscles, and you can see in my legs that I have some muscles, right? If you've seen some of these posts that I've done at the gym, which are a little weird, my niece was helping me do those. It's kind of makes me feel funny posting these things. She's like, we need to do this. Okay, fine, let's do it. But it's an interesting place. Instead of seeing what I felt like was unhealthy and I couldn't figure out why, I see muscle instead, right? So fitting into clothes, again, is an amazing feeling. Feeling my brain function well is an amazing feeling. Feeling like I'm 54 years old and my skin looks pretty good. I'm always trying to work on that, right? It's a good place to be when I wasn't there before, right? I felt like I was just aging and didn't know how to stop it. And now I feel like, okay, I have some tools. I continue to work on myself. I continue to partner with my body. I continue to feed it what it needs. I continue to go to the gym, and I continue to build my business. But I have tools that help me do better, right? And to me, if I can do better, if I can be better, if I can feel better, if I can serve better, if I can love better, that's what it's all about. So anyway, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat about all of this stuff, tell you more about LAMD. And then, yeah, I think just sort of in closing, right? Just remember, truly remember, your body's always talking to you, even if it sounds like it's really mad at you, or if you're really mad at it. It's okay, but know that it's just trying to tell you what it needs. And so we want you to stay curious. We want you to listen to your body. We want you to steward it well, right? God gave you this amazing body. So what can we do to make it everything that it's supposed to be, right? Health isn't the goal. It really is. Health is what gives us the capacity to live well, to live fully, and to taste life, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. So I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that you are more curious about this stuff. I hope that you have some questions answered. If you have more questions, I'm here to help answer them. Again, this is not to talk anybody into anything. It is to give some clarity around all of this that's going on for those that still have questions, right? And there are going to be continuous questions. It's going to be nonstop, because this is a world now, we're in a world where things are moving so fast and changing so much, in a lot of good ways and in some not so good ways, but we've got to roll with it, right? And we've got to be knowledgeable and educated on these things. And so my hope is that you just stick with me. Let's keep talking through it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Let's keep building our health intelligence so you can fully taste life. And on that, remember, so next week on August 5th, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time is our next ripple effect. So this is our health intelligence conversation. It's free for everyone. This is where we get together, we talk about something very specific and go deep into it. So I hope that we can help people understand whatever this specific thing might be going on. So it's a webinar. Join me. We're going to chat about it, have some fun with it. I'm going to answer whatever questions I can. This one's going to be about chronic symptoms. What is the body trying to communicate with us? So this is not going to go away, right? I'm always going to hit on the body's always trying to talk to us. How do we start to listen to it better? Which is why we call this a health intelligence conversation, which is why we want to build our health intelligence, right? And because it's a ripple effect, it all creates a ripple effect, whether it's for your friends and family or for generations, right? This is big and it's so much fun. We have so much to be grateful for and so much access. So let me know. Let me know what I can do for you. I hope you'll join me. Look for the ripple effect on Eventbrite, and then it's posted in all the places. So join us there. And I think I'm done. I think I'm done for today. I'm super excited to keep this conversation going, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you here next week, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. We'll see you later. Bye.